Okay. What you mean, very bad connection? I hate when they do that, because you really can't tell. A lot of times they'll say very bad connection, and everything comes out fine. And sometimes it don't say shit at all. Oh, bubbles. There go the bubbles. Alright. Oh, there you go. One person already. Who is that? Say hi in the chat. Hey, Miss London. Good morning. Okay, so listen. This ain't... Hey, Conjure. This ain't gonna be what you expect it to be. Because I don't want people taking stuff serious. I'm doing fine. Too serious. But you know, I gotta mess with LA because he's always messing with me. So, the original Crack Dot video was me just jabbing him a little bit. But, all in all, and on a serious note, I really would hate to hear he or anybody is smoking crack. And that's why the latter part of the first Crack Dot video, you know, I just tried to encourage him in case that were true. But who knows? I've seen vape pens, and those things are very silent. At least the ones I've seen. I don't know. I don't smoke. I never vaped. Well, I did once. And, yeah, whatever. But, hey, I was with my best friend when I went to New York in September. And we was playing cards with the girls. And they was vaping out of a big glass bong type of thing that had long hoses, 3 hoses or something. And that thing didn't make noise. But, the sound I heard, it could have been somebody with a crack pipe. Or it could have been, a lighter. And I got a thing for lighters and pens. I have a lighter that's a gun. I got big, giant, king-size lighters. I just like lighters. So there was one, it's at this gas station that I go to. They always have these different type of lighters. And the most recent ones they have is like a torch. So when you hit that lighter, you know, it sounds like a torch. Which kind of sounds like a possibility in the video. But, who knows? But I just hope that, really, he's not on crack. I hope nobody is on crack. I hate that drug. Out of all the drugs in the world, I detest crack. And I detest crackheads. I hate what crack has done to so many lives. You know, I've just seen too much. Too many children ended up in foster homes, foster care, and in group homes and abused, all because crack got a grip on their parents. Too many mothers were killed by their sons or their daughters because they was having a crack fit, couldn't get $5 from their mother so they can go get a hit. Wound up killing their mother. I mean, stories after stories after stories. And I shared in the first video how I was out there at the age of 17 trying to help people. Again, calling rehabs for them. And them just having to wait 2, 3, 4 months before they can go into rehab. And in the meantime, in those 2, 3, 4 months, they just kept on using. It was an addiction, man. And they used to say, you know, 1 hit is too many and 1,000 hits is never enough. And crack back in the days, let me tell you, You just took one hit and you were hooked. Now, when I worked at this place a couple of years ago, there was this woman. I worked in I ain't gonna say the name, but I worked in a place just for a year with women in recovery. But it was a different type of recovery place. But anyway, there was this woman. This woman had to be about 400 pounds, and she was in there because she was smoking crack. And I was shocked. I was like, you were a crack addict? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, and crack didn't make you lose weight? She was like, no. And so I'm like, you know what? They have changed the properties of crack from how it was in the 80s, because you shriveled up like a fucking raisin in the 80s and into like towards the mid 90s. But now people smoke crack. They don't lose weight like they used to back then. This woman, I promise you, this woman was close to 400 pounds and a crack addict. And she said she didn't drop 1 ounce. And see, and now that I think about it, I remember in the mid 90s where people were smoking crack and not losing weight drastically like they had been doing in the prior years. And so I chalked it up. I thought that people just got smarter, if you will, if that makes sense, and said, you know what, no matter what, I need to eat, even if I'm not hungry, or I'm going to eat before I start getting high. I thought that's what people were doing. I thought people were managing it better. You know. And, but that's not the case. They changed the property of crack. They really did. But not anymore. It doesn't do that anymore. It does not make people lose weight. I remember in the 80s, you know, people just lost great jobs. And even today, you know, family relationships have not mended from way back then, you know. Crack had people doing the most horrible things to their family members, you know. You steal your mama's mortgage money, or, you know, her rent, and you go smoke it up. You work all week. Like my brother used to tell me, he work all week, know he gonna get paid on Friday, and say, okay, I'm just gonna buy two pieces of crack, or however it was. You know, maybe let's say he just had intended to spend like no more than $20 or $10 or whatever it was. He said next thing you know, he done ran through his whole paycheck in a couple of hours on a Friday. And still wanting to get high some more. And so when that happens, you ain't got no money now. You done just smoked up your $600 in pay or whatever it was in a couple of hours. Now you still got this damn monkey on your back. You ain't gonna have no money to get to work come Monday. And what are you gonna eat? So now you start, you know, committing crimes and stuff to feed your habit. It was horrible. That shit would make you psychotic. Oh, man. It was crazy. But, yeah. I ain't say nothing about Key Deadman. What you talking about, Willis? At least not as far as her smoking crack. I was just talking about the sound that was heard. And I will reiterate. I vaped once, but it was like out of a small little thing. When I was with my best friend, when I went to New York, told you I had this big old bomb. I didn't vape then. I just didn't see the point. That's what they was doing. But I never heard any sound. Now, I've heard sound of crack pipes. I mean, you know, you watch a movie. When was Chris Rock when he played that crackhead? And then his crack pipe make a sound when he was smoking. You got that lighter going. But again, maybe things have changed. Because I know back in the day when people were smoking crack, there was no conversation, there was no activity. You just sitting there smoking crack. Very few people, like my cousins, brothers, right? They were crackheads too. But you know what? I promise you, you can leave hundreds of dollars sitting on the table. And do you know not one of them niggas will steal your money to go smoke crack? They just did not steal to feed their drug habit. They worked. Now they might have did some criminal stuff and like maybe, I don't know, stole cars and took them to the chop shop or something. But as far as stealing from their family and stealing, you know, people in the house you live with, stealing their money, they did not get down like that. They didn't steal your jewelry, none of that. Now my brother, you leave some shit around him, that shit is gone. He ain't give a fuck. But that was one thing about my two cousins. They never stole from me. I can have money laying on my dresser, leave for a couple of days, come back, that money still be sitting there. It was Keith Edmond making that sound? You want to know what I'm saying? I'm saying that I'm glad, or I hope, you ain't smoking crack. That was my whole point. As long as you or nobody else is smoking crack, I hate crack. And I just wouldn't want to see anybody destroy their lives like that. And I'm being very serious. I didn't. There was quite a few people who were addicted to crack, who went to work every day and pretty much really just smoked crack on the weekends. There's still people there, they were functional. They never lost their job or anything like that, because it's like, you know, there are people who are like, you know what, no matter what, I got responsibilities, I got bills to pay and shit like that. And they go to work, they do a good job, but they just get high on the weekends. Quite a few people like that. And then there's a few people who are functional like that for a good while, and then all of a sudden their addiction just went out of control. And then they started, you know, calling out sick a lot and, you know, neglecting their responsibilities. You better not cook my birds, L. Dot. But anyway. Addicts don't pay bills. Yeah. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. There are some responsible addicts. The meth heads, you know what? I don't know. The only thing I can tell you about meth is that we think the crack epidemic fucked up the black community. Let me tell you something. Crack ain't got shit on what meth is doing to the white community. And to tell you something else, yes, there are responsible addicts. There are responsible alcoholics, functional, put it that way. There are people who can function and manage their lives and still be addicts. Now that's a fact. What I was seeing when I was working with the women, like the place where I worked, it was like charity based, you know. You didn't pay. Well, if you had like Medicare or you were on like welfare or something, or Medicaid or something, they would pay for it. It was basically like kind of free in a sense, this program. They got paid some kind of way, I can't even remember, but you know it was free because it for years, especially since the during the crack days, these type of programs were dominated by black people. These rehab programs dominated by black people. The white people, when they went for treatment, they always went to places where you had to pay and it was expensive. Like another place I worked, it cost like $30,000 a month for treatment, and you had good insurance. So the second place I worked at, it was for people who probably didn't have insurance, medical insurance or whatever. But for the other expensive places, the people who had good jobs and, you know, medical insurance, or they had money and paid out of their pockets. And so a lot of young adults and, you know, people's kids, even if they were in their 30s and 40s, when they would want to go into treatment, they would go. Now, whether their insurance paid for it through their parents, or they were working adults and their job insurance paid for it, or sometimes, a lot of times, parents would mortgage their houses to pay for treatment for their children. And we're talking about white people. Well, with this meth, white people were still continuing getting them in treatment, and you mortgaging your house, and then they come out and they relapse and they get high again. They steal your car. They you know, it was something else. And let me sidetrack real quick. I'll never forget. I was working in the young adult part. So these were very rich white girls. There was about 5 of them. And they were sitting in the community room, and I was sitting in the office, but I can hear them conversing. And so they were sitting around talking, and one said, yeah, I have like $5 million in my trust fund, and I get like $1 million when I turn 18, and then when I turn 21, I get a certain amount of money, and when I turn 25, I get a certain amount of money, and then when I turn 30, it's turned over to me. And the next one will go ahead and explain how her trust fund works. And this last one said, well, I have a trust fund too, but I can't get it until my parents die. My parents are never gonna die. I sat in that office, my jaw dropped. I was like, what? And let me tell you something. These were young adults, when I say like 19, 20, 21, 22. They didn't even know how to use a washing machine and dryer because they always had maids. I had to teach them, you press this button, put your clothes in here. This is where you put your soap powder. And these are like 22-year-old white kids. Anyway, I went off on a tangent because I was talking about something else. Oh, about the parents, they were mortgaging their homes and stuff like that to get treatment. And, you know, meth is just it's horrible what it was doing. And so now the rehabs that are free, or like, you know, they're funded through donations and charity and things like that, and DFACS assists and things like that, it has changed. It's a majority of white people, because rich white people are like, you know what? You need to go to rehab. We ain't paying for shit. I'm not mortgaging my house. I'm not going into my pension fund. They were doing that. Going to their pension funds to pay for treatment for their kids. White people ain't doing that shit no more. They sending them into these treatment programs where all the poor niggas will go. And now it has changed. It's a majority of white people in these rehabs. Non-profit rehabs, I should say. It's really amazing. But anyway, y'all so funny. Who's selling it? That was Baconator. Oh, he already cooked me. He cooks me every chance he gets. But anyway, I'm tired now. It's time for me to go to bed. But listen, thank you, Canadian Baconator. Thank you all for stopping by. I really appreciate it. But I'm going to bed now. But that's all I wanted to say. Ta-ta.